Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Moran, Dave Patterson, Graham Noble, and John Clark. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation News's online TV program. Big box media, major dailies, talk shows, glossy publications, and late night talking heads have been supporting and oozing love towards Joe Biden in an almost orchestrated soundbite effort. Days before the notorious CNN debate with Donald Trump couldn't find a drive-by journalist who believed Joe wasn't fit as a fiddle. But they tuned in. Within minutes, calls to step aside were being printed, reported, and for days, the drumbeat was so loud, one newspaper wrote his concession speech. The audacity. Joe Biden broke the media. It's all about you, John Clark. Does Joe need the media on his side, and can he get them back?
Well, I think this actually is more pivotal for our nation than we may realize. In the end, this really isn't just a battle of personalities. This is a battle over the integrity of the journalism that we've been goose fed, sort of like, force feeding geese for a while now, including the cheap fakes and a lot of other things. And the media have been complicit in this. The media have been complicit in everything from the Hunter Biden laptop to the Russia collusion alleged against Trump to anybody remember COVID, student loans, so many violations of basic democratic principles by this administration. And the media has been pretty silent about criticizing or critiquing those who call themselves the saviors of democracy, while they target Americans who are conservatives as MAGA domestic terrorists. Well, it's all unraveling now, because within this dispute between Kamala and Joe Biden, and within this dispute within the mainstream media, those who are lining up in their undying defense and those who are really coming out now for really a feeding fest. We're going to see more of that. And if he won't go quietly into that dark night, they may send him kicking and screaming and raging. But what's going on? Joe Biden just announced that the Democratic elites, I didn't think they existed. Now there's a Democratic elite. Look at the fragmentation within the Democratic Party right now. And I do think this is important, because maybe the enemies of democracy in America are not Republicans who try to uphold and adhere to the Constitution and common sense. And now what's happening is the whole DEI, social justice, intersectionality is going to start to fragment. Now, and I can predict this as a person of logic, because they're not reconcilable. You cannot say whether Kamala Harris is to be more valued in this world of identity politics due to her race or her gender, or if she became trans, would she then skip up in the caste system hierarchy? It is imploding. And Joe Biden is now a very dangerous liability, because rather than be told what to do, he's going to tear down the whole machine, because he said Democrat elites are trying to tell him what to do.
But about the elites in the party.
And that's pretty funny coming from the king of elites. Now, in his letter yesterday to those Democrats, he wrote something which I just saw today, what I want to share with our listeners. Quote, he said, "How can we stand?" He says, by the way, that he has to keep fighting for the voters. This is the servant leader, Joe Biden now, not an egomaniac who's lied his way all the way to the White House while calling Joe Biden, Donald Trump, a liar. He says, the voters and the voters alone decide the nominee of the Democratic Party. How can we stand for democracy in our nation if we ignore it in our own party? I cannot do that. I will not do that. Anybody remember what was done to Bernie Sanders and how that party demonstrated how undemocratic they are? How about Robert Kennedy? And I don't mean to be harsh, but Michael Moore said it's elder abuse that he was put through the debate. The Hur report says he doesn't have the competence to stand trial. When are the voters going to start to acknowledge that that very thing, to feel sorry for him because he's too incompetent to stand up and talk to himself, is sort of a double indictment? So where does the mainstream media sit? Looking in a mirror, having the whole country, as I think Graham or others have indicated. Where were you? When did you know, and how much did you know, and how much did you hide it? I think this is a crisis for much more than just Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. I think it's a crisis for a mainstream media that's now being exposed for having been pathological, systemic liars for a long time. And that's going to be hard to redeem.
I was just going to pivot to Graham on that too. It kind of does seem that all of a sudden the media is mad and they are punishing the administration. collectively.
Yeah, they are because the media is basically what they're trying to do because they are. And you talk about elites. I mean, they're the ultimate elites. The journalists of the big box media, the establishment media, or the so-called mainstream media, which they haven't really been mainstream ideologically for quite a long time. But anyway, yeah, they're mad, and they never admit their faults. The media never ever admits their faults. So basically, what they're gonna do now is they're mad. They've turned on the administration because they're trying to pretend as if Joe Biden's condition was concealed from them all this time, and of course we know it wasn't. Because they
Instead of them trimming their video feeds to make it look good.
there's dozens and dozens and dozens of video clips out there or audio clips out there of journalists and pundits on television and in the newspapers or on the cable news networks saying Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. He's sharp. He's sharp. He's sharp. This was said over and over again. And so the mere fact it's like the line from I believe it was Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet, methinks the lady doth protest too much. It's like when you keep on and on and on insisting that the president is at the top of his game mentally, it's because you know that he isn't.
The president is sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack.
But now they're trying to pretend, oh, we didn't know. We had no idea he was like this. But I believe what they're going to do very soon, and it's going to be, if you think about what I'm about to say, you may think, oh, that's unbelievable. There's no way they can't pull it off. But I actually believe that the media very, very soon are going to, because now that everyone knows that nobody's getting rid of Joe Biden. He's going the distance. He's going to November. He's going to the election. And because everyone now has suddenly accepted that, the media is suddenly going to pivot to Joe Biden is the victim. Big bad Donald Trump is the mean old tyrant who's bullying him, and he's an old man. It's wonderful that he's chosen to serve his country for this long, and it's admirable that he's willing to continue. And so nobody should be picking on him. And by the way, everyone should vote for him because what a swell guy he is.
I don't see that happening. I don't.
I know you don't.
I think we're too far gone. I think
I'll bet you a round of drinks at the next our next advance that's what happens within
you're
the
buying
next
me
month.
around anyway. They can't. I don't know how they're going to wipe the egg off their face. I mean, Andrew, Graham thinks they're going to pivot. I think they're going to go even harder to just get rid of him and say, don't mess with us. This is how we mess with you back.
Well, first I would say that's one of the reasons why X is so beautiful, because that social media platform has all these clips, all these compilations of how the media, tried to tell everyone that Joe Biden was fit as a fiddle, and that for even years ago, then going on about how Donald Trump wasn't cognitively fit for office. But when you look at some of the reaction from these main personalities, look at Jake Tapper of CNN recently. He went on a whole tangent complaining about how Democrat elites, and that was his exact term, Democrat elites, were trying to hide President Biden's cognitive decline from the press.
Yes.
You went a whole complaint about that. Then you had CNN's Jill Filipovich. She wrote a whole thing saying, quote, part of the reason the Biden must go story has been so huge is that a lot of commentators, voters, even members of the press feel angry and betrayed. Many of us largely trusted Biden's team when they insisted he was fine. This is mind-numbing. This is befuddling. So you're telling me that the press A did not believe their own eyes, and B blindly trusted the president's team and everything they said? Is the whole point of journalism to question the establishment?
Journalists never trust anybody.
Exactly, never trust anybody. So give me a break with this whole holier than thou. We were in the dark. That crow won't caw. So I don't know how the media can wipe the egg off their face, because there's all this evidence out there. Unless the media just, because there's so much happens in the world, people just forget about it. But overall, the evidence is out there. The media was complicit, as Mr. Clark said, and that you can never forget how the press behaved since January 2021, or even during the 2020 election, when everyone coalesced to beat Bernie Sanders, as Mr. Noble alluded to, and prop up Joe Biden.
Well, they're going to be, I think the media is going to be watching so close, and that's going to change. That has to change the way that Joe Biden campaigns. There's no pandemic. He can't sit in his basement and have nice recorded interviews where he is, he stops and starts and stops and starts, and they piece it together. So, Dave, how's he going to do this?
I'm not going to answer that question.
You did mention it, and I think that it's emblematic of the Biden administration and the way the press has coddled the administration low these many years. The problem is that for them, you have a candidate who is quite frankly pretty set in his ways. So as long as there are basements with video equipment, small crowds of curious onlookers, bicycles to fall off of, steps to stumble up, and podiums to give direction to, Joe Biden will not change his campaign approach. He just can't. I mean, people elect, and the media so far has echoed that point of view, because when another 4 years they asked him about this very question, and I think it was the ABC interview, and he was clear about not changing what he believes was a winning approach.
We're on our way.
And the dedication with which Joe Biden is committed to run for a second term is not to be denied. And the problem is he actually believes he's capable and has done the nation a favor by being the president. With that firmly in his mind, he is not going to change. Why would you change what has been so successful?
And why would you change when Joe Biden has been the goodest president?
Exactly right, Andrew.
What Andrews was saying, if I could, just because I'm coming back to what I said at the beginning, there's something else going on here. Have we all noticed that this media has had almost identical messaging for years on every issue from COVID down to this,
orchestrated, very orchestrated sound bites.
Right. And now they're like the Eye of Sauron, and when the ring of power has been thrown into the fires of Mordor, they don't know what to do. So you already see, not just within the party, some Democrats supporting Biden blindly, some saying, no, we can't take it anymore. Within the media, the same fracturing. Where is the lockstep messaging coming up to November when they're starting to eat their own? This is Trotskyism again. This is when the liberals start attacking each other and start, well, wait a minute, no, I'm blacker than you, or no, but I'm more for gay rights.
Oh my God, I need a library of books behind me to listen to you sometimes, Clark.
I think. But I think the entire ideological premise of this administration and this movement is just collapsing before our eyes. And I don't think we can predict what the media is going to do in the future, but I think we may see a new media where they're not all in lockstep saying the same thing. And that would be almost like journalism, almost like, maybe we'll find some truth. I think it's not just the American people, but some of these journalists who are tired of being told that their job depends on them keep saying things that they know are not true, like that men can be women and that Joe Biden is a competent, nice man. I think they're almost happy to be liberated to be journalists once again.
I think too, there's an undercurrent that's going on as well, and the Wall Street Journal published on this subject, and that the DEI movement is falling apart. Because it turns out that the McKinsey report that gave rise to diversity, equity, and inclusion could not be duplicated. It has no validity. And now everybody is realizing that that's the case. And without the McKinsey report that they wave around, this whole DEI effort is a scam. And that's what they called it.
And Liberty Nation News has reported actually that not only has it reported on the death of ESG, but also DEI. And I have one question. Did John quote Lord of the Rings? Or
okay. He lost me on that one.
He did reference Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
But I think John makes a good point, and I would say, do we even dare hope this is possible? But perhaps this whole complete catastrophe of the media pretending that they were duped by the Biden administration over the state of his health, which of course is not true at all. But they're pretending they are. But will this whole mess now lead to perhaps at least some of these media outlets who were so faithful to the establishment and so faithful to the Democratic Party? Will they now in the future go, we can't afford to go through that again. We are actually going to have to, look at what these people are doing and give it a little more fair analysis rather than just blindly taking the White House talking points every day and fashioning those into media articles, which is what they've been doing for years now.
They've also been
maybe they finally, maybe that's really has bitten them in the rear end, and they're thinking, wow, we might have to actually go back to doing our jobs.
Remember when they redefined the word
any...
recession? Anyone remember that? I remember that.
Yeah.
Do what?
They redefined the word recession on request from the White House.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they're good at. Spin.
But that's nothing. I recently heard that the what is it? The Great Salt Lake is racist. So I think about that. Nothing to do with Biden.
I always said so.
Yeah. I think we had that discussion the last time, right? Down in New Orleans. All right, guys. Oh, to be a fly on the wall in these editorial board meetings going forward. I would love to do that. But hey, thanks for tuning in, and thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for free thinking, free speech, libertynation.com.